And of course, then you talk about some of the indoctrination issues people might mention and that we've observed, that I've observed. What is being taught in some of the classrooms, that is also a concern, right? Where people are being taught lies, sometimes they're being taught things that are just not true.
Well, Amos, thank you for showing up one more time.
Yeah.
Thank you out there, people, for coming in, tuning in one more time. My name is Elias, and I'll be your facilitator of the conversation today. And today, the topic really is, what kind of school are we creating here at Lifestem Academy? So, with that said, I think we should jump straight into the matter right here.
Yep.
So the first question I have for you, then, as we unfold or talk about this topic of what is wrong with what is wrong with the
Education
American,
system,
yeah,
American education system
in America, kind of.
Yeah. So when I look at and this could be a whole book, and there's actually books on it, and I know Vishal Mangwaldi from India has written a book about education, the third education revolution. He has his book. Doug Wilson has written books about the repairing the ruins. He actually has a book by that title. The Association of Classical Christian Schools. You see that there's good resources on these topics. But I want to just talk briefly about some of the challenges or the problem with American education system. The first challenge or the first problem is that there's a low bar. The bar is quite low. Children are capable of much more, and we've lowered the bar. I mean, just try and look at what children in Nigeria or India or Thailand or France or Canada in some cases, like look at what people are doing and look at the rigor with which some of them are operating with. I mean, there's a high standard, and so that's number one, is the bar is low, right? Number two, the other challenge again is there's this feelings-based education model. Like, it's a lot of feelings. How does Johnny feel about this? If I don't feel like doing it, then I'm not going to do it. No, we don't want people to depend on feelings for how they operate. Feelings and emotions are not a bad thing in and of themselves. However, we need to have a plan and then help people to grow with resilience and grit and help them to keep moving forward. I saw a study from Japan, or someone wrote a short article. They were talking about how there's the difference between the students in Japan and America is not just in the content or mastery. It's not just in terms of people's intelligence quotient. No, that's not the issue. The issue is how well can you persevere? How well can you endure with a math problem, for example? Who gives up faster? And American students, unfortunately, on average, give up faster. So we need to look at we have a problem in our standards in terms of a lower bar, right? People are graduating high school with sometimes just Algebra 2, just Pre-Calc, for example. In some countries, you're graduating with Calculus 1 and Calculus 2 minimum. Like in some segments of the program, you're doing math all the way till 12th grade. You're doing English, you're doing biology. Everybody's doing all these courses all the way till 12th grade. Here I see some 12th graders who are just on study hall, hanging out, playing games, and then they go into college, and some of them are doing high school biology. They're doing high school math. The standard is low. So that's why I would say we have a standard problem. And then we also have just what kind of attitudes are we building in our students? And then, of course, then you talk about some of the indoctrination issues people might mention and that we've observed, that I've observed. What is being taught in some of the classrooms, that is also a concern, right? Where people are being taught lies. Sometimes they're being taught things that are just not true. So we have not only a low bar, we also have an endurance challenge where we're not challenging people to have grit and helping them to fight through problems even when they're hard. And then number three, we also have what's being taught in some classrooms that is just flat out a lie.
Yeah.
So those are some of the challenges, I think, in American education.
Yeah. And as you people out there can hear this, what goes on into my mind is, if that is so prevalent within the education system and some parents and families choose to opt out of that,
Yep.
Is there a way this can still breathe into the homeschooling system, kind of?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I was actually thinking about this the other day. So one of the reasons Lifestem Academy exists is to partner with homeschool families to provide them opportunities that they probably didn't even think was possible. For example, imagine there's a child who has who has parents who are maybe a lawyer and maybe the mom is a nurse, for example, and the child wants to be an engineer, and they're homeschooled, right? So maybe the mom works a flexible nursing job and this child is homeschooled. Now imagine that situation. Can that boy or that girl, if they're really serious about becoming engineers and going far in math, and they don't want summers off, for example, for math, can they take Calculus 2 and Calculus 3 comfortably at home? See, that's where it becomes a challenge. Sometimes parents might want to say, oh, I did that back in the day. I don't want to see that right now. I don't want to do those math problems. Lifestem Academy is saying, let's have that student. We will help them go through Calc 2 and Calc 3 and linear algebra, differential equations. We'll give them all the math they need, right? My hope is that our kids are graduating with 21 credits of math, 21 college credits of math by the time they graduate high school, because we can work with colleges sometimes to give those kids the same final exam that they would take if they were attending that college. I've done that with a student actually, and he goes out, he takes the same final, and he passes it, and the professor was very kind to say, yep, you keep moving forward to the next class. So he studies on his own, and then he takes the final. So I'm just saying, with homeschoolers, you have an opportunity to take your kids far. I mean, there's no reason. I even think, and this is where it gets interesting, in Minnesota they have the PSEO program. But here's the thing: if you're teaching your child and giving them a high bar and a high standard, and then sometimes people send them off to PSEO, believe it or not, sometimes they're going from a high standard to a low standard. And so you really have to be careful with how you take advantage of some things that are free, because some things that are free are actually not beneficial at the moment. So I would say that we want to give them a high bar, partner with the families, and then let those kids go in with the credits, with club credits and testing out of over 60 credits. So they don't even need PSEO, right? So anyways, that's a side note on what I think about the standards in our colleges. But when you look at the homeschoolers, though, here's my concern, my big concern. I'm concerned that sometimes homeschoolers are copying the American model, the American public school model, and bringing it into their homeschooling approach. So then what is the point of homeschooling if you're doing the same thing but just trying to do it in at home? I would say that we need to rethink education from the foundation completely. We need to rethink it all and say, what are we trying to accomplish? And then let's build from there, rather than trying to copy a model that is broken, bankrupt, and in many cases useless, depending on what field you go into. And teachers, please, I salute you. Those of you who are working hard on the front lines, I salute you. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm sorry our system in America is too broken. We need to start from scratch and ask the fundamental questions.
Yeah. What you just said is profound. I'm like, it is a lot, and sometimes it takes time to assimilate all of it, but it is true, And I wonder if, in this life journey where we have so much, we are starting to conform just doing the bare minimum to have the most resources and things like that.
Yeah.
And I wonder, how did that really going into education, where we just conform into doing the bare minimum? Mm-hmm. I have classmates like that, it's like, yeah, C is fine. It's like, why not an A? Why not getting an A? Why not studying hard and getting an A? I'm like, yeah, C is fine. I'll have a 10 out of 20, it's fine. But why? We just conform to doing the bare minimum. Yeah. Feels like somewhat of a level of apathy. Yep. And I would like to know from you, what do you think of that?
Yeah, and there's definitely learning disabilities. Don't get me wrong. If somebody struggles to learn and they're not doing as well in their class, well, first of all, the professor needs to look at what the learning disability is. That's important. But I'm speaking about the general public now, general consensus, where we have students, as Elias is saying, who are comfortable with having a C, right? I'm okay with a C. Now, if you did a survey of many children I grew up in Nigeria, but you can look at this in many places. There are many students, and we're not saying you should do this to an excess where it becomes a problem, but we have a lot of students who overseas, you ask them, what is your goal? What would you like to accomplish? And a lot of students will tell you, I want to have an A. I want to be the best in the class. I want to apply myself to, learning and so on. And you might have some kids here and there who might not apply themselves to excellence. But what I've observed now, especially the past 5 to 10 years in America, is again, these are things I've not really heard growing up, or that I'm okay with a C, or why does school matter and things like that. And I think part of what has happened with this apathy is that, in Deuteronomy chapter 8 in the Bible, it talks about when you've gone into the land and you've eaten and are full, do not forget God. That's what it says in Deuteronomy chapter 8. Chapter 6, 7, 8. If you get a chance, just read Deuteronomy chapter 6, 7, and 8. And you'll see that there's a connection, and it happens again in the book of Proverbs. There's a connection between wealth and apathy. There's a clear connection between abundance, affluence, and apathy. And unfortunately, where we've come to in America in some ways is we have so much. We've been given so much. We don't know what it means to toil. We don't know what it means to work hard. And we just have so much. I mean, we have so much in America that you have different forks to each different parts of your meal, right? You have so much that you can have several pieces of chicken. You can have, there's just so much in this land. Nothing wrong with having a lot of something, but you need to remember who the giver of all good things is, number one, right? God is the giver of all good things. And number two, you need to remember that if he has given you the strength and the ability, you need to be applying yourself to excellence. So let's never settle for a C. Let's never set out saying, I want to get a C. Let's say I want to give my best. And if you end up with a C after giving your best in a class like Calc 2, okay, I understand. You tried your best. Calc 2 is hard, but don't go out saying, like, it's basically going into battle saying, I'm just going to lose, so why try? Yeah. No. You need to set your mind, right? I'm speaking to young people in this particular segment here, but you need to set your mind on saying, I want to be the best that I can be with the things I've been blessed with so that I can be a blessing to others. For the glory of God, ultimately. That's what you want to do with the life you've been given. Don't settle for apathy, because the thing that will affect this generation is not smallpox, I said. It's apathy. Don't let it cripple you. Wake up and seek to be the best that you've been created to be.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. What happens then to this generation when, in response to apathy, they go the opposite direction? Because I guess there is much affluence, as you would say, and which can be a good thing. I think affluence is a good thing. Countries strive to be more and more affluent. Help their people. Nobody likes to live in poverty all the time. I think affluence is a good thing, but there is the two extremes. It can cause us either to be apathetic, or it can cause us to strive, but it's not just strive. It's going above and beyond. It's like, I just hate being apathetic. I want to be working all the time. Shouldn't we be worried about those sort of attitude as well?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Very good point. When it's all said and done, when we think of how we should live, we need to make sure that we have balance. We need to make sure that we are teachable. We need to make sure we seize the moments and the opportunities that we have before us. So within the scope of what I'm trying to share, I want people to have a life, definitely. But I want them to recognize that the life they've been given, right? Their life has a purpose. Their life has meaning. So they need to set their lives on track in what matters. And then they need to encourage others to flourish. And then they just make sure you rest. Make sure you do what you need to do. But ultimately, you need to be seeking to give the best you can within reason. Be teachable. Don't just go out there with zeal and get yourself in trouble and burn out. But make sure that you're taking steps, resting, applying yourself to excellence, and thinking beyond just yourself. Think about others. Think about serving others. As Booker T. Washington put very well in his book, Up From Slavery, he says basically those who serve others, right, they will have much happiness and joy, right? There's a joy and happiness that comes from serving others. So always be asking yourself, what am I doing to serve others with the gifts that have been given? This life is not meant to be just all about me, me, me. Unfortunately, that's what our culture says sometimes. So apply yourself to excellence, but also remember, it's about people. It's about adding value to other people's lives, and then be teachable. If someone calls you and says, hey, I think you're really doing too much here, then step back, listen to advice, and that would be good for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing those words. Yeah. Now, let's kind of go back to the topic of education, where we started. Yeah. We talked about, you mentioned there is something wrong with the American education system. Yeah. And you gave some examples of that. Yeah. And my question now is, how do we know that we are wrong? What is the point of education so that that will help us know, hey, we missed the mark. Hey, we went far ahead. What is the point of education?
So, very good question. And there's many articles on that. One of the things I would say is that education is lighting a fire. It should be about lighting a fire, not filling a bucket. It should be about inspiring people to love learning and learn to how to we want them to learn how to pursue learning opportunities, how to pursue, train them up, right? Don't just they say, don't give a man a fish, teach him to fish, right? So teach them to get to a point where they know how to become self-directed learners, right? Education should take my faculties, whatever they are, and help me to flourish in those faculties. Custom-made education is really, I think, part of the way of the future, because we have the resources, right, to help Johnny over there who loves history, to to help Cynthia over there who wants to become a rocket scientist, like Katherine Johnson, for example. Maybe she has a passion for going to the moon or whatever. So it's to help people to learn, okay, these are my skills, how can I develop them? So education should be about helping people develop those skills. It should also, we should have an element of people just loving to learn. That should happen. If you're educating people well, they should love to learn. And even if they don't become experts in every field, they should have an appreciation for learning, for truth. Education should be about, getting the mind nourished, getting the mind to flourish, getting the mind to be sharpened. Is that happening with our education? Are people's minds being sharpened? Or are people just trying to take tests, pass tests, and get a job? That's not what education should be all about. It needs to be about a refining that happens. And so that's what I would say is we are unfortunately so focused on standardized tests and test taking and just a job. And we're not so focused as much on how can I be a better human being that, not in the sense of trying to earn my salvation. What I mean is a better, steward of the gifts God has given me. That's what education should be used for. And again, information is everywhere. So we need to be inspiring people. Teachers, we need to inspire more than ever before because we have a lot of young people that are saying, I don't care. Why should I care? So we need to show them that this stuff you're learning has a point and we should inspire them to excellence.
Yeah. Thank you. I liked something that you said about loving to learn, like loving learning. And it kind of brought me back to my even younger days, I would say, right? Because I'm not that old, in which studying was a hobby somewhat for me, doing math and things like that. So I would say, like, I would love to talk about learning strategies. How do we get to learn? One of my greatest strategies was I would study when I would feel like it. But hey, I'm not saying that that's exactly what you should do because my motivations were different than what most people's motivations are at this point. So I will be careful with that. But that is something I think we probably would have another episode just talking about what are some of the learning strategies that people can employ so that they are excelling at study, they are excelling in academics. So I have another question for you, and that goes more on the side of both education and what we're trying to do here. How is Lifestem Academy an alternative to what the education system in America has come to be?
Yeah. So Lifetime Academy, again, works with homeschoolers. We partner with them with the hybrid option. But then we also are trying to recruit more students in our 5-day program that will benefit from our options, right? We want to help you. We give our students like career assessments, in high school, for example. We want to help you figure out, okay, where are you headed? And then we want to give you the resources to just pursue those goals. So, for example, let's say you have a heart for medicine. You want to be a missionary doctor or you want to be a doctor in the United States. Okay, so let's start connecting you with doctors locally. Let's start connecting you with books that will help you be a different kind of doctor, one that not only is treating patients, but is learning how to just love people more and more. So we want to help people find their calling and then give them the tools to just flourish in that calling. Now, can people change their minds later in life? Yeah, they can. That's fine. But we want to show them how to grow and flourish in what direction they're going in. So that's number one. I would say that we want to help the 5-day students who attend our school to really understand what are their gifts and how can we help them grow more in that. So we allow you to take chemistry and physics and biology at the same time, for example. Like we want you to have all that you need to flourish in that, preparation phase. So we want to also, that's number one. So that's the element of the career preparation. We definitely want content to be mastered. So we want to teach you learning strategies and we're going to be teaching study skills and really helping you to grow in that. Those are some areas that I would say that we want to bring solutions for those in the public school system that move to our school or those in other schools. The other thing I'll add, one major thing now in how we teach, we want to integrate the history. We try to integrate the history and the applications of the concepts you're learning so that you can see the point, right? What is the point? When you see that we do certain things in mathematics or physics or chemistry because of what those people, the founders of those fields did, I think you would appreciate the content more. So we really want to help you to appreciate learning more by learning the applications and the history. And so, anyways, those are some ways that we want to help you. We want you to be the best you can be, and we will do all we can to give you the resources.
Yeah, profound. That's good. I do appreciate the point. Like just trying to join and work together with high school. Excuse me,
Yep.
homeschoolers. Trying to provide the best education possible. And I wonder also how I would love to hear actually what is the homeschooler's perspective of what has come to happen. What are some of their experiences so far, and that perhaps will be another episode. So
Yep.
people there in the camera,
Yeah.
another episode that which we're gonna get to talk about those things.
Yeah.
But if you care to know, one of the things I like about the school so far is that it is a hybrid, but it's a hybrid. And I would love to talk about. I was talking to him about this before, but is hybrid in the sense that it accommodates for both online and in person events to occur and courses to occur, so students can still attend.
Yep.
But it's also hybrid in another sense, in which homeschoolers and full-time full-time like a student goers can still come and coexist.
Yep.
And it makes much sense. So we have the 5-day program, and they have like a 2 days program in a week. So that is really good, in the sense that we are much different than most American schools are, even private schools.
Yeah.
They are not necessarily like that. They have all the hybrids that I could think of at this moment.
Yeah.
So that is something I really appreciate about what we are doing here at Lifestem Academy.
Yeah.
It's a work that, hasn't ceased to amaze me yet. So
We praise the Lord. Yeah.
I would like to go into somewhat of an intermission here, in a sense, and just have you talk about some of the cohorts at the school, and what is your plan with that? What is the vision behind that?
So we have cohorts at Lifestem Academy. So there's 6 cohorts. And so basically 4th to 12th graders at this time have been assigned a cohort. And the idea is to teach leadership skills, is to teach teamwork, is to teach, to give them opportunities to learn how to care for one another, encourage one another. And some of these people do have siblings at home, yes, but there are some who might not have siblings. So maybe their siblings are much older and are out of the house. So these cohorts are really opportunities for them to work together. We want to learn from people like Booker T. Washington in learning how we can build our own school. And so Booker T. Washington, he talks about them building their school literally. But in our case, we want to, maybe it's projects that involve cleaning or projects that involve working together to find a solution to a problem at the school. These cohorts are going to work in that. The student council members, a few of them are located in each cohort, and the idea is that they can help lead there as well. So our student council members were picked out. I picked them out a few months ago, and they're learning, hopefully growing in their leadership skills, and I want them to begin to, just continue to being an example to their classmates. So I'm excited. So the cohorts are an opportunity for teamwork and leadership skills to be built. We also have these shirts. You see me wearing one, and we have different colors: the red, yellow, green, and then blue. And I remember when I went to Air Force Primary School in Nigeria, we were all assigned one house, right? Each person had a house they were located in. I was in greenhouse, and the idea there was if we had sporting events, we would compete using those colors. And so that's the other, part of the teamwork might happen too in sports days, knowledge bowl. We're going to have a knowledge bowl and a math tournament coming up, and Bible trivia over the next few weeks. So, we'll let you know as they happen, but Bible trivia is February 27th. So make sure you start practicing. But yeah, so we're excited. And these are just healthy competition opportunities to help us encourage and challenge one another.
Yeah. Wow, I'm actually pretty excited about the Bible trivia. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like it. Like just guess by like a verses of the Bible.
Yeah.
My friend and I usually go to the gym together, and we have moments where we just do sort of Bible trivia. I pick up a random verse, and recite it. And then he is supposed to guess what the verse is. Where is it located?
Yeah.
And it's a good exercise for our minds.
Yes.
Like, oh man, I knew that verse, but I didn't know it was there.
Yep.
But now that it has been refreshed in my mind, now I know. And it's just a good way of exercise.
Yep.
But anyway, we do have at least one more thing before we wrap up here today.
Yep.
We're almost at time limit. One thing I have today, I heard of the Life Marts going on, and it's a great initiative.
Yes.
I would buy myself something in there, but I would like you to talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, so Mrs. Durham's classroom, so one of our classrooms, the second, third grade classroom, has several homeschool students there, and they basically have a store at the school premises right now. And so students, instead of using a vending machine, or if they forget a snack and they need a snack, they can go to the Life Cart or Life Mart, sorry. They could go to this place and they can buy, whether it's a snack or water or whatever it might be. And so this classroom, the second and third grade classroom, is using it as opportunities to raise funds for different projects for the students at the school. And I think that's amazing. But guess what? These second and third graders are learning math because they're giving people change, right? Mm-hmm. They're also learning the importance of work ethic and responsibility. And so I think at some point you should have Mrs. Durham in her class, some of them maybe featured, and just to share what they're up to. But it's amazing. I think in 1 week they were able to make, like a good profit, $90 profit or something. I thought that was amazing that the kids are learning economics, right?
Yeah.
Which is your field, but they love there's math, there's life lessons, responsibility, and that's part of what Life STEM Academy really is about. We really want people to be well-rounded. We really want them to be street smart, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
We want them to know how to think, not just know a lot of school stuff, but can they think on their feet? Can they respond to, debates and topics that come up? And that's part of what we're trying to teach here. We want them to learn to think well, right? We've been given a mind. Let's sharpen it. One quick quote as we wrap up is that, think about it. Everything that grows generally needs to be trimmed. Everything that grows, right? Your grass grows. You need to trim it. But why is it that the mind is not trimmed and fine-tuned in terms of its functioning, right? Here's what I mean. We're growing. As people are growing, how often are we asking them, how are you learning? How are you growing in your thinking abilities? And how are you refining your thinking abilities? It's one of those things that's unfortunate that we don't spend time refining our thinking abilities. How well are we doing avoiding logical fallacies? How well are we doing improving our ability to articulate what we believe? These are things we should be doing. And I'm sorry, today I feel like I'm really going on a roll in terms of the challenges and the problems. But please know that I just want the best for the young people and people as a whole. So sorry, I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just excited about what can happen as we help people to develop all their faculties, because then they can be a blessing to those around them for the glory of God.
Yeah. Changing a whole generation, a person at a time.
Amen.
I like what we're doing here. Once again, Amos, thank you for coming up today. This is what you're gonna have. We have some more coming up next week around the same time. This one is gonna be released to you around Saturday, 11 a.m. Without fail. At least we're trying to.
Yep.
Having everything given to you at that time. In the meantime, we ask that you would enjoy the week. So see you next time.
Thank you so much. And please feel free to subscribe and pass this on to your friends. Thanks for taking time to watch. And it will be on iTunes and Spotify as well.